Draft profile today, we're staying on the defensive side of the ball. Another linebacker, it's Deontae Lawson from Alabama. So let's get right into it. A player with plenty of experience going back to 2021 where he showed up in 4 games for Alabama, redshirted that season. And since that time, he's consistently seen action. Going back to 2022, he started in 4 games that season, played in 11 games. 2023, starts in 11 games. 2024, becomes a team captain. Unfortunately, tears his ACL that season against Oklahoma. And then, of course, this past season, permanent team captain for Alabama over the past 3 seasons, over 600 snaps in each of those 3 seasons, including over 700 this past year, according to Pro Football Focus. Also, statistically speaking, 65 tackles this past year, 17 missed tackles, which is a concern, 16.3%, as we'll point out, a 114 passer rating allowed with an 84% completion percentage given up as well. However, those numbers I don't think are incredibly important. It's more about what you see on the film when it comes to the coverage side of things. Deontae Lawson, I think, is going to be one of the more intriguing linebackers in this year's class due to the length that he potentially is going to test in with here. Listed about 6 foot 230 right now, along with the explosiveness and the pop that he brings to the game, while also having, to me, a lot of coverage upside. I think that's the area that stands out to me when I watch Deontae Lawson, of where he could potentially fit, and projecting that into the next level with his kind of experience. How do teams feel that he's going to be utilized his best? Played outside the tackle box at times, played between the tackles. You could look at him as Mike, as a Will. I think there's flexibility here, and I'll tell you how I think it's going to translate to the NFL. But let's start first with his pass defense, because this is where I really like him. It's my favorite standout part of his game. I think he's very good in pass coverage right now, and specifically most of this comes in zone coverage, playing in that Alabama defense. Fluid lateral zone footwork, pretty smooth body control in coverage, changing directions underneath as well. I think the big part is he covers a lot of depth when he moves laterally. He covers a lot of space. He can squeeze routes really well. His length is incredibly impactful in zone coverage underneath as well. He's a leaper. He's athletic at the catch point. Pretty aggressive to find routes in zone coverage. I think this is the best element. He finds routes really well. He has a feel when he gets out in space, when it's a rollout play to go find routes, track guys down that are working behind him, and he plays with initial landmarks that are really sound while also working off his teammates really well and understanding where his coverage support is. That way he can play through that. He has the body control to drop his weight at the top of zone routes, sit down with sit-down routes or curls or quick hitters. He's got consistent pacing in zone coverage as well when he's working level 1. I think the pace that he is to stay on top of routes, to move with routes, to stay in a striking distance spot is consistent as well. There is some hesitancy, which is the problem here, and I think you will see this movement-wise when he feels like he's overthinking it and he's trying to find things that aren't there, or even the flip side when he gets too deep in his own coverage and you'll see like delayed routes that'll kind of get out underneath on him and he doesn't actually find those routes. He's kind of just continuing to bail, continuing to gain ground, but there's nowhere that he's actually going. I think he's got a pretty good feel pre-snap, and I think you see that just by his initial landmarks that he hits in zone, but then also post-snap as well. He's a pretty verbal communicator, and again, he plays off his teammates really well in zone as well. He finds vertical seam routes, he redirects, uses his length there, carries effectively with that zone length. He's got some real suddenness because of some of the looseness that he has in his hips to create some immediate ground and cover some immediate ground. I think zone coverage is going to be a spot that's going to really carry him into this draft. I think he's close to being great in zone coverage. A couple little tweaks here could be really darn good. And then in man coverage, I didn't see this as much specifically. I think he has a lot of the skill set that can translate for a man coverage piece. I think the length is the biggest part of this, matching up with tight ends. I think his ability to run with contact balance and also show a little bit of that looseness to carry vertical routes up the seam. His play speed seems to be adequate for most matchups that he's going to deal with. And then, of course, better angles are going to help him as well. Now, as a blitzer, this is more of an upside projection. I think that he could be a plus blitzer in the NFL. I have him slightly above average now. He wasn't overly impactful as a blitzer this past season. I think a big part is he doesn't seem to have much of a go-to move. He doesn't have an immediate plan. His speed to power really never gets started. He stalls out incredibly early as a pass rusher right now. But what I do like is he carries that looseness, the hip looseness into this. He can play really tight to the line. He can work stunts in games. And some games we saw him play a lot on the line of scrimmage. They just let him get after the quarterback. He's got that legit looseness in the lower body. He's got some lateral quickness for a crossover move. And he also uses his hands fairly well, at very least to keep himself separated. So if the quarterback does take off, he can get back into the play. He's got pretty good timing with a little club move that'll flash occasionally as well. And he's got a little change of pace that can be effective. I don't think his ankle bend is great, so I think that throws him off when he's trying to turn and bend the corner, which limits him a bit as well. His hand usage just in general could be more effective for speed to power opportunities. He finds the quarterback pretty well because he gets himself locked out. He just needs more of a go-to plan as a rusher right now. This is very projection-based, not like he was dominant as a pass rusher, but I think there's an upside here to be good, and that could be a huge value for him, tying that along with some of the position flexibility to his coverage upside. That could be very valuable for a three-down player down the road. Now, as a run defender, the biggest thing that stands out, he's explosive. He's got real stoutness to his game, which I think is very unique. Great stoutness for a guy at his size, the way that he handles blocks at the point of attack, the power that he has. He doesn't give him much ground. He does it as a hitter as well. The way that he hits in pursuit really doesn't feel like he's giving up much ground unless his technique is messy. But that said, he's got an explosive entry to offensive linemen when he's scraping over blocks. He absolutely just rocks tight ends at the point of attack, and you'll see that a lot of times on the backside. We saw that against Missouri. He drops his base consistently for a pretty wide base for take on, especially like inside, outside zone. Now, he will have the issue of he doesn't get to his spot quick enough, and it allows him to get kind of turn his shoulders, and then he's not square. He does a great job of staying square to the line of scrimmage, but occasionally he doesn't attack his blocks quick enough. And I think that's one big thing is in short spaces, he has to be quicker. He needs to crank it up a bit. He needs to be quicker to get to his spot. He needs to be quicker to see TFL opportunities and shoot his shot and make a play. There's just too many examples of him feeling like he's just a step off from actually making a play. I also feel like more consistently reducing a strike zone could be effective in the upper body. He's got nice depth that he covers, so he can kind of stride out and avoid blocks, and he's really got that contact balance to kind of work through offensive linemen trying to gain connection at the second level, which helps a ton for upside as a pursuit player. I think the next step would be for him to consistently reduce that strike zone, be a little bit more difficult to get hands on. He's got the knee bend. He stays square in his scrape, maybe even to a fault, but he has an arm over shed move that can help him avoid blocks as well. He's got a very aggressive like push-pull move to shed blocks as well. He's a little bit slippery between the tackles. He's got some of that in his game, some upside there. I think he does showcase an ability to have good short area quickness. I just don't think it always shows up within his play speed, which is, to me, closer to the average. Just needs to be a touch cleaner on entry to shed. His consistency is not there from a technical perspective and how he actually enters into blocks. His sideline to sideline speed is not outstanding either. There's a lot of plays that doesn't feel like he can actually get back into, and if he doesn't play faster, he won't get back into those plays. That closing speed to me is below average for what I expected at his size. I thought he'd be an absolute problem tracking guys down. He doesn't really have that either. Maybe ankles could help him a bit here, being a little bit wider. His open field pacing to track down the ball feels a touch slow as well. Don't think he does an incredibly consistent job at actually working off defender leverage and feeling that. I think he's got a good sense of not getting himself caught up in gaps all the time where it feels like he can't find the ball. He tends to have some patience to settle in and kind of see it play out, but I think he has an issue of he doesn't really react incredibly well off of where his defenders end up, and so because of that, you kind of feel like he's settling into certain gaps and he's not actually able to widen out some of the range that he has between the tackles. Touch slow at times to kind of get moving, like stretch runs or a counter pull scheme on the play side. I also don't feel like he makes me feel like he's the quarterback of that defense, consistently getting guys lined up. I like how he pressed the line of scrimmage and he does as well for inside and outside zone. He will take away gaps, but he needs to attack blocks just a bit quicker, especially when they're climbing to him to the second level. He allows them to get hands on, or he has a little bit of a slight avoid, which can actually work because when you get him outside the tackle box, he does a good job of setting an edge. He does a good job of fighting through blocks. He can settle himself down. He can force things back inside, but it's got to be quicker to play between the tackles where things are just happening faster. Have a lockout ability because he can snap his hips, control an edge as mentioned. Has to get quicker in traffic when he's around blocks, but I think the contact balance can help him here. If hand placement is more consistent, I think that's going to help him as well. He gets a little bit messy. Immediate blocks, same thing happens in space when it's immediately reactive. Just feels like he's messy, but I do like him on the backside. I think he identifies backside discipline. He can deal with counters. He always has a vision for a split zone setup. He typically has a vision for a quarterback mesh point. He does a really nice job of staying disciplined on the backside. You're really not going to out-leverage him. That is something that you can buy into a little bit as you move forward here. He has that backside patience. He has the mesh point trigger to get downhill. Will press on the backside for cutback run. He will get himself sealed. Doesn't feel like he's always incredibly responsive to anticipating down blocks, and he kind of gets himself just peeled out of the play. So he needs to position himself to find the ball faster. There's too often where it feels like he's kind of guessing or just taking way too long for him to recognize where the ball is going, and it just feels like he's not even getting involved in the play. That happens too much. It'll feel like he's just kind of standing in a gap way too long. We saw that against Georgia, but he has that sorting patience, what I do like as a run defender. He just gets a little bit tunnel visioned at times. Doesn't feel defender leverage incredibly well to kind of react off of that. And then as a tackler, maybe one of the more disappointing areas, he's long, he can wrap up, which is great. He's a lengthy finisher between the tackles, which gives him real range, but he doesn't have outstanding twitch we see as a tackler right now. He's got a good wrap up when he squares up tackles. He settles his feet when he's working top down two tackles, but I think his short area body control is way too hit and miss at this point. He feels very upright too often. He's a powerful hitter. You'll see it in pursuit too. He can absolutely stymie guys at the point of attack, but he just leaves his feet too often. He leaves his feet. He's a step slow for opportunities to create tackles for loss. He doesn't always come in square to blocks. He kind of, or the tackles will kind of come in sideways and it'll allow leakage. It's little issues like that for me right now. ultimately, I think that this feels much more upside driven for Deontae Lawson, and I look at him more as a wheelbacker fit. You could potentially put him into space a bit, but I'm betting on the coverage upside. Carry a unique skill set with his length and his power at the point of attack to have a lot more upside to deal with blocks, right? He can add a little bit of both, I think, to your team. But right now, I think there's just too many areas that need to be polished for me to think that's immediate impact day one. I think that could be the case down the road. He ends up with a 5.82 grade for me, as you can see on the screen here. You can see where I really like him. Some areas are just a work in progress. Sheddability is still not that clean, and yet I have him at a really good spot grade-wise. So again, there's a lot of things that translate to a lot of flexibility as an off-ball backer here. I think a lot of this, though, is just going to take some time, and you really have to find a spot that you love him in. I like him working backside. I like him in coverage. I like him being able to create a lot of depth in coverage, and I like him leaning into his discipline and really trying to find the best way to speed up the game, not make him have to think as often and process everything, but just speed up the game a little bit to make him a second faster. And I think if you do that, you can have a lot of upside here for how you can use him defensively. With that being said, that's Deontae Lawson. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching.